Leafs fans have had enough, and following Brad Treliving's surprise press conference where he spoke out for the first time since this disastrous season, we have some information on the future of this team, the future of Craig Berube, and even some trade updates. We'll break that down and discuss what it means going forward, as well as how Leafs fans have had enough with management and, of course, the front office in general. Ton to go over on this episode today, folks. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Darius, a lot to go over today, and you obviously live streamed the press conference. It was out of nowhere. People were speculating that Austin Matthews was going to be announced that he was done for the year. All these different things. We have an update on him as well, and it's good news. But fans are pretty upset following this press conference, quite frankly. And let's just dive right into it in case you missed it. We'll dive into everything he said and kind of discuss how it, impacts the Leafs here. But let's just dive right into it. You can see here, he met with the media this morning for his annual Q1 press conference. Here's what was said. Now, again, I said surprise because no one really expected it. It does happen most seasons that he has on. It's just, in this case, it's in a very bad time because of how bad they've been doing. But he acknowledges things haven't gone well this year, takes full responsibility for their horrible season, maintains full confidence in Craig Berube, and says the overall team needs improvement defensively, but also wants to get better at all positions. I'll dive in the second half in a minute here. But Darius, I want to hear your thoughts on this first. And he said, again, he's not, and the team rather, isn't where we want to be or where we envision to be. The responsibility lies with himself. And he also says that Craig Berube's job is fully secure, like Elliot Friedman and others have been reporting as well. And that hasn't been met with much delight from Leafs fans.
No, and I think that his job is safe for a while at this point. I think things would have to go really, really bad. They would have to be in last place and, things would spiral out of control for him to be fired at this point. The players are not executing on what the coach is asking them to do. So if that is the case, of course you're not going to find success because then there's a misalignment and you have to have some alignment, and not even some, you have to have alignment between management, coaching, and the players to have any chance at success in this league. So there is some misalignment in that way. The players have to start executing on what the system is, which is dump and chase. And a lot of people have been talking about that. The offense has been fine, but a lot of people want to talk about how, it's the dump and chase that's the problem. You can't, if you're doing the dump and chase, you can't dump and maybe chase, or dump and that's it and go off for a change or something like that. You have to go get the puck. If you look at the Florida Panthers, and one thing you mentioned off the top here is I was streaming during the press conference, and we had a Florida Panthers fan in the chat, and he said that I don't understand why you guys are, worrying so much yet. This team is going to figure it out. That's what they were saying, right? The Panthers are dealing with a bunch of injuries, but he thinks that the Leafs are going to figure it out. And if you look at the Panthers, they dump and chase. They do, but they're hungry. They go after the puck. They get it. They have support from the third forward. The Leafs look disconjointed. They look weird right now, right? And they're just not buying in. So, that's what Treliving was talking about. They have to dig in right now. It's more of a coaching thing at this point, right? It's not really on Treliving. He's supplied the players, and if the players can't get it done, then he's going to wear it at the end of the year. That's for sure. And he took full responsibility to start it. But I don't know what people were really expecting from this press conference. The Leafs are not in a position to be able to make a trade right now. They have to figure it out themselves. And I think that ultimately they probably will make the playoffs. But fans are upset about the fact that they're losing, and I understand that, and they want somebody to pay for it at this point.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned that, I mean, again, it's going to rely on Brad Treliving whether or not. Now, usually the coach is the first scapegoat, but they just fired Sheldon Keefe a year ago, and Treliving spoke out on that, and he said, I believe fully in Craig Berube, and the messaging from the staff puts a lot on the players. You have to dig in, which is a pretty funny quote considering, I mean, obviously they have to dig in, but it's a commitment to doing the work. Just because you did it last year, you have to commit to the work. Now, that's where I see a little bit of fallout from this season, or a little bit of fallout this season. Now, obviously, the Leafs, you could say we've been spoiled a little bit in regular season success, and they've always had slow starts, but they've never really gotten this bad. I still think the team can be very, very good. The problem is, and we have an update on Chris Tanev as well, there's a lot of different things here. The personnel itself, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. So that was Joseph Wall missing a bunch of time. Anthony Solar is missing some time, starting off the season with Scott Laughton. But that's not an excuse to play as bad as you have been, and it's just been lazy hockey, if you want to put it that way. No one really seems to, I don't want to say they don't care, because I'm sure they do, but it's not ideal. And then you come out on possible trades, and Brad Treliving basically said that we're not going to panic and start throwing things overboard. It's not so much an individual thing as much as a team thing. Put anybody in the uniform and play the way we're playing, we're probably going to have the same result, which is a good point. Now, I do think they're going to make a trade at some point, but one trade isn't going to fix this. And he mentioned, I think a quote was that like he can't completely shuffle or something like that, paraphrasing, 15 players. They can't change out 15 players on their roster. So it's all going to come down to the players playing. And he says he thinks the team has been too vanilla, noting you can count on one hand how many complete games they've played. And he emphasizes always looking to improve the team and adds we continue to look at what changes could be made. I think he will make a trade here at some point soon, but it's not going to be and even if it is a blockbuster trade, for example, or someone that's on the higher echelon of talent available, they still need to do other things to fix this team. And the good news is Austin Matthews is coming along. He's back skating and he's day to day. Thursday, no go, but sometime early next week, which is a good sign. But they have to figure out how to win, as simple as the game tonight.
Yeah, there was some good news this morning. We'll get to that in a second. But in terms of like a trade and what you were talking about, he didn't necessarily shut down 100% that there is or isn't going to be a trade. He just said, we're not really going to panic right now, and you can't airdrop, 15 new guys into the team and expect a different result or anything like that, right? And especially if you trade for one player, they're not going to make a difference. I think this could get ugly enough that there is a situation where they would make a trade like roster for roster, just to get something going. I could see that happening if it gets ugly enough, but that's not going to change the team, which is what he's trying to say this morning, that it's not, don't expect the trade and then all of a sudden, the team's going to play that much better, or hey, we got a top six forward and now we're top of the Atlantic. We haven't lost the game in 3 weeks or anything like that. It's not going to happen like that, right? They have to figure out the solution and play a complete game. And I like that quote from him this morning about the team being too vanilla. They are. Everybody does the same thing. They have like every single guy is doing the same thing right now. It doesn't make sense, right? You need to, as a team, and as a player on a team, you need to bring something different sometimes, but just something consistently. If you can't put the puck in the back of the net right now, you're not feeling it, bring something else. Finish all of your checks. Too many of the guys are playing too basic right now and all trying to do the same thing, and you're not going to find success that way. So I like that quote, and I think that Brad Treliving can identify these things, and he brought in certain players this offseason to, fix certain holes or fill certain holes in the lineup. And I think on paper, at least myself heading into the year, I was like, wow, this team might take a step back in the regular season, but I think that they're built for playoff success, but they have to get to the playoffs first, right? And I think they all need to start bringing just a little bit more to the table and commit to the defensive side of the puck as well, because they're scoring goals at the end of the day, and they're not even playing that well with their system. I think that speaks volumes to how well they're finishing right now. So that's just one aspect of the game. You have to play a complete game. Your goaltending has to be good as well. I would assume Joseph Woll is getting the start tonight, but there was some good news from Morning Skate this morning as well.
Yeah, Austin Matthews, he is, like I mentioned, going to be available at some point next week. We assume you can see in the thumbnail. He is skating as well, which is ideal. Now, Chris Tanev, we'll probably know more in the next week or so. They put him on the LTIR, so that's not ideal there, which, again, they are in a... I mean, also, Nicolas Watt is missing a couple of games per Craig Berube. It is a very wild time. Nick Watt out, you have Austin Matthews out, Chris Tanev out, Scott Laughton, all these guys who were out and of course are going to be coming back sooner or closer and closer to their return. They play Montreal on Saturday, which is a big game just for their confidence this early on in the season. Any thoughts on these updates, whether it be the Tanev move and of course Austin coming back?
Yeah, he didn't say if Austin Matthews was going to play Saturday, but he alluded to the fact that he'll be out, the 2 games during the week this week, and that he could return on Saturday, and that it's, headed that way, that he, it's probably not going to be a long-term thing. They have him listed as day-to-day. So I would take that as good news, because we kind of knew that he probably wasn't going to play at least 1 game this week. So hopefully he does return on Saturday. Nick Waugh, being out, he hasn't really done too much this season. And I think it's a huge opportunity for Jacob Quillen to kind of, make a name for himself here. And we talk a lot about, when you look at years ago and even, in recent years, no Marley really comes up and makes an impact. You look at other teams and sometimes they need to make a call because there's some injuries and the guy comes up and he has a good stint and then he's sent back down, right? The Leafs don't really get that out of certain guys. So I'm looking at Jacob Quillen right now, like, what can you do with this opportunity? You're going to be given a lot of minutes probably. And the Leafs have a lot of injuries right now. Florida's dealing with, I think, 7 or 8 regulars out of their lineup right now. The Leafs are kind of in the same boat. So it's the next man up mentality, right? You got to get to work on the system, play within your structure as well. And, just commit to it and see what happens. But they're in tough, but it's got to be the next man up mentality. It doesn't matter who's out. You're faced with this situation. See if you can win some games.
Yeah, and it starts with tonight against the Blues, and Wall is confirmed in, so hopefully he can take care of business. Let us know down below your thoughts on that. See you guys later.